and welcome to Showcase, TRT World's daily arts and culture programme, coming to you from our studios in Istanbul. On today's show, more on the ongoing scandal devastating the Nobel Prize for Literature, and we'll tell you why China and Japan are teaming up on film. But first,
keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time.
we'll visit Nashville, Tennessee, where a key piece of Johnny Cash history is finally on public display. And from the bold to the beautiful, the international art scene comes to a giant tent in New York. The world's leading contemporary and modern galleries have gathered in New York for the Frieze Art Fair. It's a showcase of work from almost 1,000 artists and 200 galleries, spanning 30 countries. And it's all on show in a giant tent, as Nick Harper reports.
In the crowded art world, it's important to stand out. Like Lara Schnicker's live interactive artwork entitled Suffragette City. Processing through the halls of the Frieze Art Fair, she's harnessed the power of protest into performance art. This spectacle is a case of art imitating life, drawing on the recent American political rallies and the Me Too movement. When not stalking the halls, these feminist protest pieces are on display, giving the artwork a defining duality.
It's not just a traditional group of sculptures, it's not just a performance, it's both of those things. So I think these objects push Lara's practice in a very specific direction, as they're intended both to be formal objects and to be activated by participants.
Frieze brings together more than 190 galleries from across 30 countries, including art world heavyweights Tracey Emin and David Hockney. Hockney's showing includes a selection of work he created on an iPad, reimagining classic images with a twist of technology. Indeed, there's something for everyone, from the mind-blowing to the mesmerising. Even, it seems, the kitchen sink, presenting plenty of chances for introspection and interpretation. There's also a special section for smaller galleries to showcase emerging talent, like Palestinian-American artist Jordan Nasser. He recreates the patterns of Palestinian embroidery made by women in the West Bank. As a way to reconnect with his cultural heritage, he mimics their stitching, turning it into his own rolling landscapes and geometric abstractions. The cushions made by the women are showcased alongside his own compositions, and it means these galleries are profiled with some of the biggest names in the business.
It's really great to see a space in which there's the David Hockneys and these major artists hanging alongside the brand new fresh artists who are making really emerging and exciting work like Jordan is. It's interesting the way that it recontextualizes their work, and people can see these connections to previous generations and the established artists.
Well, from the intimate and the intricate to the big and the bold, this is Robert Therian's folding table and chairs, a larger-than-life artwork. The table alone weighs more than 350 kilograms. Outside sits the largest exhibit, Shady, by Frieze Artist Prize winner Kapwani Kiwanga. She received the honour of creating this installation, which spotlights colonisation through the inclusion of the type of fabric often used in farming projects throughout Africa. Even the fair's location is part of the show, housed in a pop-up temporary tent on an island in the East River, a ferry ride away from bustling Manhattan. But the organisers feel the fair's lasting appeal is the spectrum of international talent brought together under one roof.
We're definitely in a globalized world now where you have ease of travel. That's not something that everybody gets to experience. So if you're a native New Yorker and you live in the Bronx or somewhere, you can walk over the footbridge and come here on the weekend and see artworks and meet people from 30 odd countries.
And hopefully buy a piece or two. The show hopes to attract established collectors and first-time buyers looking to kick-start their collection. Bold statements abound at this show, but sometimes the people here are as impressive as the artwork. Nick Harper, TRT World, Randall's Island, New York.
For more insights on this year's Frieze New York, I'm joined by art curator Stephanie Browne. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us on Showcase.
Thank you for having me.
Now, there's always a program of events that runs parallel to Frieze New York, and this year it was all about live events. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that entails?
Yes, well, there were a few live performances curated by Adrian Edwards, and the theme was assembly. So assembly having to do with political action, demonstrating your voice to the public. This was a little bit difficult for artists to take on, I noticed, because the context of an art fair, which is a very selective group of individuals attending who are coming from a very high-end section of society, to give a protest to such a select audience is a little bit bizarre. So I noticed that while the programming was high quality and had a very interesting topic, it felt a little bit strange in the context of the art fair.
The event brings together more than 190 galleries from 30 countries. Among this huge program, which 3 artists would you say are must-sees?
Well, you know, when you're in an environment like the art fair, like Frieze, you're inundated by so many images at once, and it's very difficult to find your bearings and sort of give attention to all of the artwork on display and not just the most shiny and colorful works of art, the most provocative. But luckily, I was able to sort of sink in and seek out some of the more intimate moments in the art fair. So an artist I discovered for the first time was Hannibal Barron, who is showing at Michael Rosenfeld Gallery based in Chelsea, New York. And she works with very intimate collage. She creates collages out of found objects and creates these boxes that open and close and retell elements of her life story. And I found those to be extremely rich and powerful works. Also, I couldn't miss Tracey Emin's solo presentation, and that was at Xavier Hufkin's gallery. She had a neon sign work, which she's very well known for, that said, "You made me feel this way," and it's scratched in her handwriting. Very intimate, very provocative, and it was accompanied by a series of paintings with a lot of red, a lot of scribbles, depicting her trauma and the passionate feelings she's felt experiencing love in her lifetime. So both of those moments were rather intimate and beautiful. The third artist that I would say you can't miss is David Hockney at Pace.
And what about galleries? What else do you think is really cool at Frieze New York?
You know, I was introduced to a brand new gallery, and that would be the Box LA, which is located in downtown Los Angeles. Sometimes you discover new territory that you couldn't on foot when you go to an art fair, and definitely I had not been to this East LA location before, and was happy to find the Box LA at Frieze. Same would be for Michael Rosenfeld Gallery, which I hadn't had a chance to spend time with their program. So I would look for those 2 galleries as well.
Brilliant. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. Ring of Fire, Man in Black, Get Rhythm. These are some of country music icon Johnny Cash's signature songs. But it's I Walk the Line that marked one of the most important moments in his career. And now, a rare item from that time is on public display more than 60 years after the song's release.
The sun never shines.
One of the best-selling music artists of all time, Johnny Cash was known for his deep, calm, bass baritone voice.
Oh, but the place
I started to keep going.
He's
but
mainly
something
remembered as a
made
country
me
music
stop.
legend, but his sound also embraced rock and
She
roll,
used to love
blues,
me
folk
a lot.
and gospel.
She looked lonely. I find myself alone.
Cash's breakthrough came with I Walk the Line, for which he received his first gold record in 1956.
Cause you're mine, I walk the line.
And now this key piece of his career is on public display for the first time at Johnny Cash Museum in Nashville, Tennessee. The item has been privately owned ever since Cash passed away in 2003.
Cash Museum owner Bill Miller learned in March of this year that the award had been in Germany in the hands of a private collector and negotiated, key word there, negotiated its purchase and its return to Nashville.
I Walk the Line remained on the record charts for 43 weeks and is now double platinum certified with more than 2 million copies sold.
Because you're mine, I walk the line.
He wrote the song for his wife Vivian, and I think he had no idea that the song would become the great standard that it is.
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time.
Still to come on Showcase. We'll drop in on French artist Christian Boltanski's first major exhibition in China. Japanese and Chinese movie industries band together to invade multiplexes with their unique co-productions. An exhibition full of award-winning photographs in the middle of Istanbul.
We have decided not to award a prize this year, and we did that after long and intense discussions.
Sexual abuse allegations delay this year's Nobel Prize for Literature. Anadolu Agency is a Turkey-based international news outlet. As well as providing information to the world, it also appreciates photojournalism and awards the best in the business. The Istanbul Photo Awards are held every year to recognize the most striking images and help support journalists throughout the world. The works of 27 award-winning photojournalists are displayed in Istanbul, and our Nursena Tutor went along to see 2018's news in a visual medium.
Among the busiest streets of Istanbul, a gallery houses the best photos of 2018 to encourage photojournalists and introduce them to wider audiences. They submit their applications online between November and January. The rules are simple. Your photos should be taken in the year you're competing. Photoshop or any other kind of filtering is not allowed, and you should provide necessary information about the photo. An international jury picks their favorite captions for the year, and the winners of all categories are shown in an exhibition. This year, the biggest prize Photo of the Year award went to Bosnian photojournalist Damir Sagol. His work is called Boy.
This is a picture of Abdul Aziz, a young Rohingya refugee child who died a few hours before I had taken this picture in a refugee camp in Bangladesh. This poor kid's family had escaped from Myanmar as a part of the mass exodus of Rohingya people in the late 2017. I followed the preparation for the child's funeral, and then at one moment inside the family tent, which was packed with lots of relatives and neighbors, the child was wrapped in a blanket, and at one moment, I believe it was an ounce or a mother or aunt had unwrapped the blanket and put two green leaves over the child's face.
Sagol says it wasn't his first time capturing a dead refugee child, but by immortalizing a tragic moment of a family, he hopes to raise awareness about the humanitarian crisis.
You look at it and it's not very clear what had happened, so you actually have to engage yourself with the picture. So that's what I actually want with this and other pictures, that I provoke you, so then you read yourself further and not just sit and wait for me to deliver everything. So that if this picture can work on that level, that it makes you engage more with the subject and then further with the story, then I think my job is done well.
Contestants compete in 10 different categories, such as news, sports, nature, daily life and portraits. Their entries turn the exhibition into a colourful adventure.
One of the reasons why Anadolu Agency started this competition is that photojournalism is one of the hardest fields of journalism. It's a very challenging job, and it requires a lot of commitment, resilience, and hard work. Not everyone can be a photojournalist. You have to have certain skills to tell a story in one shot, and also aesthetically please everyone. And if you can combine these two, you end up with an iconic image. So we aim to support photojournalists through Istanbul Photo Awards.
The exhibit will travel around to meet new people. The photos will be displayed in Moscow and New York later this year. So if you want to apply for the 2019 competition, prepare your lenses and wait for the perfect moment to shoot. Nursena Tüter, TRT World, Istanbul.
The Nobel Prize for Literature is one of the world's most prestigious cultural honours, handed out every year by the Swedish Academy. But sexual misconduct allegations and information leaks have stained its reputation in past weeks. On Friday, the Academy announced that it would take a year off.
We have decided not to award a prize this year, and we did that after long and intense discussions. But we reached the conclusion that the confidence in the Academy is so low in the world at the moment, and that is the deciding reason why we now refrain from awarding the prize.
The Swedish Academy also announced plans to award 2 prizes in 2019. The council has been dealing with claims of sexual misconduct by the husband of one of its members. The allegations were inspired by the Me Too movement that became a global outcry after Hollywood's sexual harassment scandal. Last week, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences expelled actor Bill Cosby and director Roman Polanski, who have both been convicted of sexual assault. For more on this, I'm joined by author Peder Frederik Jensen. He's here for the Istanbul Literature Festival. Peder, what's been the reaction in literary circles to the cancellation of the Nobel Prize for Literature?
Well, I think the discussion in Denmark or Sweden has been for a long time concerning a lot of the mistakes that the Academy kind of have been doing to themselves all the time. And I think a lot of people is looking at it as a little ridiculous and stupid and non-professional and not very, I mean, it's not very, it's like they're trying to kill themselves in some way. And so I think that's one reaction. The other one is that everybody is talking about how much it has to do with the Me Too, how much it has to do with maybe, you know, a lot of power discussions and things we don't know anything about. We have to understand that the Academy is both the prize, the Nobel Prize, but at the same time, locally in Sweden, it is a very important factor in the cultural business, kind of. Those people are the ones who's like handing out money for a lot of institutions, a lot of artists, a lot of writers. So the one discussion about the Nobel Prize, that's international and global, the other one has a lot to do with Sweden, I would say.
And Sweden and Denmark, where you're from, are both often praised for being very forward-thinking when it comes to gender equality. Mm-hmm. What impact do you think this scandal will have on impressions there?
It will have an impact on the discussion. I mean, part of it has to do with the Nobel Academy being a kind of a conservative construction that is still there in a very liberal frame. I mean, in Scandinavian countries, in Denmark, especially in Sweden, there is a tradition for like feminism and very liberal discussions about power. So I think, as it is right now, they have to react on that and kind of change the way it's going on until this point, I think. nobody really knows what will happen. It is an old-fashioned construction. It is linked to the royal, to the king of Sweden, actually. I don't know. I think it's all right that they have to force themselves into another way of thinking, another way of acting.
And what can the Academy do to rebuild from here?
Well, they can start on maybe acting a little more, maybe I would say professional, but just like instead of, there's kind of continuously doing a lot of very strange things for themselves. I mean, instead of like reacting on it before it became a scandal. So now I think there's just been so many mistakes that they have to stop up now and then like turn a little back and get the Secretary Sidenius back maybe. That's somebody's talking about that. She was the one that was the secretary a few months ago. So that could be a good thing to do, I think. Instead of like getting back to the old-fashioned ways, let's have some new faces in and change the whole construction. I mean, you can't leave the Academy. Your chair would just be empty. So that's one of the things. It's too old-fashioned in some way.
And on a brighter note, what's your experience like so far at the Istanbul Literature Festival?
It's very good. I like to be here. I like the possibility to go to Istanbul and join the festival, and I'm very glad for the invitation, and of course to be translated from a very small language, 6 million people, to this very big language. So I'm joyful.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Peder, for joining us.
Thank you.
In recent episodes, we reported on how the Hollywood and Bollywood film industries are trying their best to break into the Chinese market. In an unexpected move, however, Beijing has announced that it'll be shaking hands with one of their major competitors for a deal that will change the balance of power in the global movie scene. Now, we'll tell you how these enduring rival businesses finally came to work together.
The long and intricate rivalry between Japan and China has been thoroughly examined through movies that pit the two nations against one another. These productions that touch upon the socio-cultural differences between the two neighbours have been local box office hits.
It was almost like seeing something out of a dream, nothing more or less.
But recently, the habits of moviegoers in the region began to change.
I can't stand this place anymore. It's too small and close-knit.
In a move that could make both Hollywood and Bollywood envious, Japanese movie makers finally penetrated Chinese multiplexes with globally acclaimed animations.
I wanted to tell you that wherever you are in the world, I swear that I'll find you again, no matter what.
真っ白な星となったスノーボールアース
The success of these features has allowed Japan to land a co-production deal with China. The treaty will lend the proposed movies dual nationality to help bypass quotas on foreign films in the mainland. It will also allow the world's second and third biggest box offices to work together.
此人这个样子有多久？7天期。
The deal has already produced its first fruit of labour. And unlike other foreign film deals that chase a cut in the local market, Japan's agreement with China is also aiming at cultural dialogue. And since 2018 marks the 40th anniversary of the Peace and Friendship Treaty between Beijing and Tokyo, it seems the timing may just about be right.
That's it for this episode of Showcase. Head to our YouTube channel for more from the world of arts and culture. But before we go, let's take a look at one of France's most avant-garde artists. Sculptor, photographer, painter, Christian Boltanski is all that and more. He's best known for using themes like memory, mortality, and the passage of time in his works. Boltanski's first major exhibition, offering a dark view of human existence, has just opened in Shanghai. I'm Miranda Ratti. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.